Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Boy, howdy, it's been a week. So, where are we at? Crowdfunding roundup for this week. GameFound, Kickstarter, everything else in between, a few updates, and just, a few tidbits here and there. So, it's been crazy. If you're new, thank you for joining. If you're old, thank you for staying. And as always, I just love talking about board games, so that's what we're going to do, because that's what I want to do in the first place. And let's just get right into it. Not a whole lot otherwise going on this week, but let's check it out and see what surprises we have in store in terms of campaigns. Let's do this. First up this week, we have another one from Board Game Tables. Again, they're killing it. Almost $200,000 in less than the first 24 hours. And instead of just a regular trio this time, we've got I'm going to say 4. I don't know what the right term would be, but a 4 package of games. But these are a little bit different because these are expansions to games that are already out there. Well, maybe I won't go as far as improvements, but additional content to games that you already know. And it's doing so well because 2, arguably even 3 of these are very well thought of games in the community. The most recently released, Kabuto Sumo, as a different take on the dexterity instead of the flicking hard, the subtle skill adjustment tweaking of it. QE, the ultimate auction bidding game of extreme proportions, and then On Tour, a different sort of roll and write now in Paris and New York. Now again, Bites I don't know much about, but it's offering an expansion as well. So let's take a look, and I think the biggest thing that they had been marketing already at the beginning of this campaign was the flexibility in the pledge levels. If you were a subscriber to their newsletter, you're getting promos for them as well, and they're offering you however you want to do it. Here are the promos down here, and then here are the individual prices, which again, I think are slightly higher in terms of like Kabuto Sumo, because I believe the whole package was only about like $40 before with the All-Stars and the Kabuto Sumo. Total Mayhem expansion. Did you ever want to have bugs, smashing each other with wooden steel chairs? I mean, that's essentially what they're going for, right? They're going full on tilt, leaning into the pro wrestling theme, which is awesome. The standalone game of New York and Paris On Tour. The question is just, how does this differ of the original? The commodities expansion for QE, as I mentioned, where it's the bidding game, but you don't want to bid or end up spending the most at the end, because then you're automatically out of the running. And Bites is just one I'm not as familiar with, so we'll take a look at that. But you can check out all the prices there. They give you what the full bundle is going to cost. And if you want all the new products, there you go. And if you want it all, again, they're going to really throw in a good deal there. And shipping is going to be shipping. Shipping's going to be $4, actually. I was about to say $9 for Canada and Europe, but you know what I'm saying. Swap it all around. If you need some of the original games, you can mix and match there as well. So, again, offering some flexible stuff. Full disclaimer here. I ended up giving away my copy of Kabuto Sumo to someone else who really, 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 really wanted it. So, I no longer have a copy, and I'm a little sad. I kind of regret that decision now. Let's see. On Tour, again, QE, auction game, unlimited money. If you spend the most bites, collect food that matches the ant you think will get to the anthill first. Okay. Again, more of the question is, what are you getting? Moves, victory conditions. Again, that's probably a great expansion. I don't think that you're going to go wrong with that, because it's not a complex game to begin with. But again, it may be a little bit too much if you thought the original game was a little bit thinky for a dexterity game, which I can see people feeling. What's the new way of the rolling right here? Soloists performing during different burrows, train game expertise to add depth. Interesting. That's probably the one dark horse for me of this. QE doesn't do anything for me. Bites doesn't do anything for me. I wish I still had my copy of Kabuto Sumo, but On Tour was one of those that the roll and write mechanism I was intrigued by, but I've never had a chance to play. So that's probably the dark horse of all of them for me at this point. Bites, again, anthill, a little bit of move, collect, bet. Okay. Plenty of stuff out there that you can see. And how to play everything. I mean, again, all of these games are relatively straightforward, so you can get all of the information. And I give a lot of credit to Board Game Tables on their campaigns. They have structured all of these to make you know how to play without having to read the whole rulebook. Now, you can read the whole rulebook and get all the in-depth, but you don't need it either. So, again, tons of information, tons of information. Are they going to have stretch goals? I have no idea. People love it for good reason in this stuff. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. There's not anything on this page that I would look at as, you know, essentially, again, my very superficial looking and viewing so far, that if you weren't a fan of these games originally, that's going to change your mind either. So take that for what you will. Next up, speaking of games that won't change your mind if you weren't a big fan of them in the first place, this is Thunderstone Quest. And again, I give them kudos because they're doing something. I don't know if it's overhead, I don't know if it's backstock, but they're doing similar to Board Game Table, so I'm going to give them credit for saying, hey, if you want stuff individually, we'll sell you all the stuff that you don't have individually. So if you missed previous campaigns, if you missed previous retail, you can get it. They're offering 2 new quests right here. And it's funding a little bit lower, and I think it's probably because people like myself have too much of it already and haven't been able to get it played. I mean, that's the biggest detriment for a game like this. The other thing that I'll put out there is that they're offering a new starter set. So if you don't want a massive, almost Gloomhaven-sized box and the price point to go along with it, they're giving you a $50 one here that you can get just sort of a little bit of an intro to get a taste, an aperitif, if you will. So what else are we getting here? Again, 2 of these, which are really, really cool, but I just don't know because I don't have enough of my other played. And this is one of those where the completionist in me really would like it, but until I get a better sense of how easy is this to get to the table for me, which again hasn't been terribly easy, I may have to pass. Here is the roadmap that they run you through. If you want these quests, again, they're going to cost you $35 each, which is not inconsiderable when you're getting them for, what, about $27.50 right now? I mean, it's not a huge price point increase because I think also some of these were a little bit exclusive. So take that for what you will. Only holds up to 5 quests right there in the storage box. And you've got quests 2 through 11, right? So you need 2 of these in addition. So, I mean, this is not small. Neoprene mat's actually a good price for $20. And sort of am tempted by that because it would be like, hey, maybe if I get the neoprene mat, maybe I'll get it to the table easier. I know myself, it wouldn't get to the table any easier, but something I have to tell myself at least. Again, the lower entry point there is good. You're trying to get more people in. So that's just the question. What new stuff is going to be in this quest? Again, I don't know enough about the game. I haven't played it recently enough to know, okay, do I need more of this stuff? Are these guardians and keys that they were hyping up there really that much more important and cool? Or not? I don't know. But it's got everything that I think I like in a game. Co-op, competitive, the barricades mode, which makes it, again, easier to get to the table too. But there's just something holding me back. Like, this is one that I would go, I'm buying this for completionist. Not FOMO, but completionist, and I don't do that a whole lot. Shipping is $13. That's okay. So it's going to cost me $68. So that's not really that much cheaper than the $35 you were quoting me above, but I mean, that's about what I would expect either way. But I would have to have this game played several more times to know how much do I love this game. Am I just okay with it? Is it a good game? Or is it, wow, this is awesome dungeon crawl combining with deck building? And that's my big hesitation is right now I'm not wowed, but that's personally because I just haven't gotten it to the table enough, and that's my own fault. But there you go, Thunderstone Quest. Anunnaki relaunched, $130,000. Again, it's actually almost at where it was the first time around. So what are we doing though that's different? I mean, they talked about the price point reduction that was going to be coming around here. And I guess as someone in the comments section pointed out astutely, this is MSRP. I just look at that and I go, this is a big difference in terms of like what you're offering during the Kickstarter and what you're saying the MSRP will be. So I just don't know how to interpret that necessarily. The core game with the expansion, with the Journey of the Gods and the other Fall of the Gods, you've got 3 expansions to go with it already from the get-go. Now, I'm not seeing the big plastic that we saw at the top of the other page when it first launched. So it looks like maybe they're replacing it, at least some of these levels. I have to feel like it is. Yeah, I mean, the price point here is much less. And what's interesting here is I'm not sure they actually had a dedicated pledge level for this one last time. I don't remember, and I'm not going to waste your time with checking. But I know a lot of people said last time that they just wanted the promos from their other games like Newton and Lorenzo and Barrage. And so I guess the question I really have is, I mean, you have 1,000 people at this level essentially right now. Out of, let's go back up here a second, 1,000 out of 1,600. That's incredible. That's incredible. I've never would have suspected that. That means you have so few copies. And does that mean they're going to cancel again? I mean, you have literally over 50% of your people backing it right now at the $1 pledge. You know, usually in all these big games, I mean, you're talking 10 or 20% at most. like the Simon ones, right? And those are the ones that usually have the most of all of them. And so I have to wonder if it's looking like Euthia, where all of a sudden you just don't have the sheer numbers to get the cost that you're quoting right now. Now, again, if you get rid of some of the plastic, which we're seeing a lot less of on this page, and they've gone with all of the exclusive upgrades and unlocks already, 37 stretch goals unlocked. So how do you feel about that? Again, here's all the plastic, and I'm assuming this is maybe with it still. Again, it's interesting that they don't include it in the pictures above, but it's right there as well. Campaign, story mode, I don't know. Do you need a 4X Euro with plastic? It's an interesting dichotomy of styles. And it's one of those where I sort of look at it like Foundations of Rome or Kingdom Builder. I mean, it'd be a great $40 or $50 game. I don't really want to pay 2 to 3 times that, though. So that would be my biggest hesitation. Rulebook is there, Tabletop Simulator. Shipping is going to be what it's going to be. I mean, again, take that for what you will. If it's really as big as they're saying, I would look at potentially 1.5 or 150% of that shipping cost, just as a budgeting thing. Here's all the add-ons, though, which, again, they blew up. It's much larger. So, I don't know. Are people pledging, I guess, for these add-ons during the actual campaign? Like, how much of this $1 pledge level is actual money, or is it just like, $1,000? So, it's interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you impressed with the relaunch? They're almost at the same time frame at me filming this as where they were when they canceled. Almost the exact same money, too. So, we're going to see where this goes. It's going to be an interesting test of the market, like I said in the video earlier this week. Next up, Steel Colosseum. I saw this one on Facebook. Zatu Games, the board game store out of Europe, I think. Creators of Hellboy and Devil May Cry. I mean, then those are two relatively well thought of dungeon crawl-esque games, although Hellboy is more of the dungeon crawl and Devil May Cry is more of a tactical, like, skirmish-ish with asymmetric abilities and killing monsters and things like that. Competitive 1 to 4 player game, scraps between 2 customizable fighting robots, 2 teams of robots though. So deck control, you are simultaneously selecting a single card for each robot, and then based on the ratings, you resolve them from high to low. Okay, so it's a little bit of a simultaneous action selection skirmish type game with miniatures. Okay, build your team, play the cards, and as you get damage, scrap the tokens and spend wisely to allow you to change the rules of the game itself. That's kind of a cool thing. I like the changing of the rules mechanic itself. Now, interesting here again, contest mode, default, and then a solo co-op mode too. And it reminds me more of that way in Senjutsu, where I wish Senjutsu hadn't done like 17 different modes as well. And so I just worry about, if you're going to do a competitive, make the competitive as best you can. Don't worry about the co-op. I don't look at this as a co-op game, but they say apparently that they've added on what they can do in a solo of a cooperative game here. So with Ricky Royal helping out at least. Little upgrades there. These are the stretch goals, I think. Okay, a couple expansions here with a little bit of 3D obstacles. Then down here we get to the add-ons, 2 additional expansions, signature moves, and cutting edges. So again, asymmetry, more cards to make your mechs and personalities more unique. And then if you want a little bit of 3D terrain, you can also acquire some of that for your collection. Video, 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 video. Team, 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 team. If I stop clicking on the links up there. And again, shipping is going to be what it's going to be. I mean, again, budgeting for shipping is just important as budgeting for your game right now. So there you go. It is Steel Colosseum. It's already almost 150% funded. Check it out. Kingdoms of Akandia. Now, I talked about this one last week on the upcoming video as one that I could see going completely anywhere all over the place. And again, it's almost funded. It's about 75% of the way funded. But what is it going to do? And again, is that enough? Is this a true funding goal? Is really the question, as I raised in the video earlier this week. So it'll be interesting to see where things go. Again, it's trying to do everything as sort of an online RPG-based game with a tabletop presence. Tutorial, learning to play. It also, I mean, it just seems like it's doing a lot. That's always my biggest concern with this. And then, again, with these fantasy RPG open world-esque games, no matter from the big game companies and the big pedigrees or the small ones, what sets yourself apart from all the others? Why would I get yours over someone else's? And that's the question. Again, this is going to be an indie game. So how do you feel about that? Contents, tons of stuff. Standees. 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 Okay. Standees. That's nice. I like that. I'm giving props there. Give a little standee shout out there. Open world. Equipment is assembled through a puzzle system. It reminds me maybe more of Diablo when you're sort of organizing stuff in your backpack in a sense. Again, not having looked down below too much. And quests, loots, destinies, resource management, crafting, tower defense, recruiting, mounts. Again, the only question I get raised immediately with this is it too much? Are you trying to do too much in one? If you eliminate a couple of these things, I've seen that with a couple games lately that I've played and reviewed, or not reviewed yet, but played, where scope is just too much. Scale back. The Awakened Realms dilemma, right? Scale it back just a little bit and focus on what you've got. So, social stretch goals, again, additional stuff that you're going to be getting here. It's fine. Additional stretch goals as well. Pledges. What are the pledge levels actually? 85 euros. Oh, 175 euros. I mean, that's a deluxe pledge level. And these are what you're getting. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. It's a lot of money, though. I love these standees. Now, that Phoenix is pretty freaking sweet. I'm assuming that's a Phoenix. I'm assuming it is, but I'm probably wrong. Now, I wonder, again, this was the question I raised in the video from earlier in the week. How much overhead difference-wise is there with standees versus miniatures? It's got a lot of mechanics here. It's got a puzzle system in terms of what you're doing and how you're equipping things, which does appear a little bit unique there. I'll give them kudos there as well. Give this one a look. If you're one of those people, again, this is one of those where I said again, I know, I'm bad about that. This is one of those where I wonder if it's the wrong place in the wrong time, and I wonder why this one, as opposed to something like Dungeoneers, which I was able to look at and ultimately decide it wasn't for me. Thank you to the designer for that. But that one raised like 6 figures pretty easily. And so I just look at this and I go, why does one of these get 6 figures and one of these doesn't? And sometimes, even as someone like myself, I look at this and I go, I have no idea. But I guess the refinement, the everything that goes with it, the X factor. Although this seems to be a very well put together project. I just think you should check it out for yourself. I don't really know. I haven't dove into the details and the rules and how nuanced it's going to be. You can get down to the rules and the reviews down here. One-stop co-op shop, as well as Hungry Gamer out there. So they're definitely good for some information when it comes to that. So there you go. That is Kingdoms of Akandia, if I can ever get to the top, because it's a super long page. There you go. Check it out. 25 painted bird meeples for Wingspan. This is popular. Hey, know your crowd. Know your target audience. Painted bird meeples. Wingspan is... Oh, that king penguin is really cool. My kid would freak out. My 1.5-year-old would freak out for these right now. He is super big into animals, and especially penguins are one of his like 3 or 4 top favorite ones since he's been 6 months old. So you use them instead of action cubes for Wingspan. There you go. How much is it? Create your own set. Whew! $248 for all those. The all-in package. Can you just get one of them? Painted bird food starter player. I mean, I'm assuming you can get pieces here and there, just like small sets, like just one of these or one of these. But man, that's expensive. Hey, I mean, if it's your favorite game and you play it a ton, go for it. But there you go. Interesting. We're gonna see more of this. This isn't going anywhere. That's why I wanted to talk about it. Arcadia Tenebra up next. And this is very similar in a different scope of more of Akandia, but it's, as it says here, more of a deduction-esque whodunit mystery board game with role-playing as opposed to an open-world dungeon crawl. Stopping a serial killer, essentially. And I believe this is a relaunch, so what you're getting is a second attempt here, and so we'll see how it does. You're the anti-hero, and you're going through these unique asymmetric abilities and characters to basically win encounters through skill checks and solving quests in order to figure out who the killer is. So there's a lot of mechanical stuff here. Get the pieces. It reminds me more of a Chronicles of Crime, only with more of a deduction. Solo as a lone wolf even. Interesting. I'm not sure how I would feel about playing a solo game of this. I don't get the best sense of how it plays though, so let's see if we can get down. Okay, there's a video. How to play. Here we go. And I believe that this one also encourages you to do some role playing. Now, I could be wrong. I wish there was a little bit more on the page of how it was played. Social deduction meets RPG is basically the feel that I get. What's the price point on this from Rigged Dice Games? Let's see. $50? $50? No, it's not bad. Early shipping. Oh, it's timed hourly, so by the time you guys watch this video, it's going to be too late. I don't know. I am not a big fan of the horror-esque theme in general, and the art is probably not as high profile as some of the other things we've just looked at. We'll see where it goes, though. It's at 50%. We'll see how it does. Joystick Heroes. Meta game about playing arcade games, moving your standee from arcade game to arcade game, trying to get high scores to earn points, and points get you victory points, and victory points at the end wins after 10 tokens are played in these games. It's about a quarter of the way funded already in the first day. So let's see where they're at so far. Roll dice, play games, skills, joystick abilities, as I mentioned, power up your skills with your skill board here, asymmetric. And here we go, the player with the most prizes wins. Rulebook is there. Player 1, ready, $35, includes the stretch goals, 65 for 2, okay. So what are we doing here? Ooh, $35, what are the stretch goals coming soon? The asymmetric abilities that you start off with, you can see all of them here. Preview video, preview video, preview video, preview video, preview video, how to play. Yeah, you can get a good sense of that. $15 shipping, so $50 for this. It's a little bit more than I'd probably want to pay in general for a filler game like this. At the same time, I could see this being good on a retail level as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one got picked up at retail for just a little less. But the question again is, with something like this, why get it now? But this is a hard genre. So I give them kudos again for going out there. Check it out, Joystick Heroes. Speaking of hard genres, I always got to mention them. Now this one, for whatever reason, this one's not blowing up nearly as fast as all the other TCGs, but it's a TCG, so take that for what you will. Usual Liege of Games TCG Ramble rant over. Next up, we got Heroes of Normandie. Now this is a relatively well thought of, I believe, war game immersed in, well, I mean, Normandy, right? Battle for Caen. Almost funded, less than 24 hours in. What do you need to know about this one? Again, as a non-war gamer, I don't really have a lot to say on this. I know Heroes of Normandy is probably one of the more well-known ones from Devil Pig Games especially. But what this entails, Battle Pack 2 Battle for Caen, unlock stretch goals for 49 euros, as well as the base game for 99 euros. I don't know. Again, this is not my specialty by any means. How is this different? What are you going to get here? Now, they're going to get stretch goals automatically unlocked. Now, you're going to get stretch goals automatically revealed on every single day. At the end of the campaigns, it basically forms a expansion. Okay, great. Secret stretch goals, though, are going to be linked into the campaign, so you might just want to check out, essentially, if you're looking at it. Yeah, it's well thought of. So, war game. Again, how does this compare to other war games? Where does it stand? How much of this do you need? How much of the optional buys do you need of the stuff that's previously out there? Because that's a lot of stuff. Again, I have no idea. But I know that there are a small number of you war gamers that are out there watching this channel occasionally. So I'd like to give a shout out. There you go. A 225 point value system that you can be using. Again, not 225, but that's the example that they use there to recruit your side and how you want to use the terrain to your advantage when you're putting them out in more of a war skirmish type situation. I'm going to leave it there before I embarrass myself any further, but that's the newest expansion modular pack from Heroes of Normandy. There you go. We're going to go over to... Actually, you know what? We're not going to go to GameFound. I have one more on Kickstarter. I found this one at the end of last week. I love talking about this stuff, so we'll talk about it. I just love talking about this stuff, so it's almost 50% funded. This is, as the cat says, a family-friendly party game. Now, actually, I like this. It says, go down to the bottom, essentially. The second half is the English overview. So we'll scroll all the way down here, and you get here. Cat action predicting party game. Cat cafe. You're the staff. Cats are relaxing. Time goes by. Who's the most liked of all the cats? You want to be the most liked. And you get the option to figure out who's going to be the most liked here. What are you actually doing, though? You're trying to predict cats' actions by choosing your card. And if you predict correctly, then your favorability rises. Someone gets 100, you win. I have no idea what else is going on here. You can reverse it somehow. Missions, challenge types, rulebooks in English right here if you want. I just like talking about this stuff. I just like it. And I have no clue what 3,000 yen is. First 50 backers, though. $24. So that's a great price. And shipping's usually pretty cheap on these things. They get like the shipping via boat, but you get it and you pay less. So, you know, if you're like me, who cares when you get it as long as you get it and it's safe and it comes in one complete package. So, I don't know. I just love talking about these. I think these are fun to talk about. So if you have any interest in cats and a filler game, go check this one out. Last one over on GameFound today. Resist from Salt and Pepper. Action-driven solitaire game. I didn't actually know this was solitaire before I started talking about it, so we'll see how this goes. 41,000 euros. Wow, that's almost 4 times the funding goal. It's the Spanish Maquis and their fight against Franco. I have no idea. I have no idea. That is all French to me, if you understand what I'm saying there. It's all, I don't know if this is a big battle, a small battle, one that's well-known, not well-known. I have no idea. So let's see what we got going on here. That's a pretty big quote right there from SpaceBiff. He doesn't throw those around lightly. He doesn't give his seal of approval on a lot of these campaigns very much, especially with that degree of certainty. So that's saying something. So if you are a solitaire card game player, you should probably give this a shout out, because I don't agree with his tastes always, but he likes good things. So think about that for a second. Scenario book, 8 standalone scenarios, the challenge. But what are you doing in this challenging scenario game? Why back now? Okay, I mean, it's an indie card game. You get an exclusive digital art book. You know, this is an indie game. That's okay. A few videos here. I hope there's more on this page. I want to be able to talk to you guys about more. What's the price point? 20 euros. Again, just like the other filler. Very good pledge. Okay, here we go. How to play. Hand management, deck deconstruction. Again, doing something different. That's why you look at this small indie stuff, because it does those sorts of things that you don't see always getting the big publishing, because it's, you know, it's different. People are a little scared of different at times. But that's also how, you know, innovation happens. Missions overcoming. Each mission card grants you points. You get more notorious as you get more points. 4 phases. Plan, attack, aftermath, and recover. 5 cards in your hand. The enemy cards have 2 sides. Hidden, revealed. You have to choose. Your cards have 2 sides. Hidden or revealed. They're going to have different plans of how you're going to be able to use them. And you do them during the activated phases that you want to. So if you play it one way, it's going to be more powerful. If you play it the other way, it's going to come back to you. So depending on how you want to adapt, I can see where this would actually be quite interesting and quite fun. If you fail 2 missions, though, lose too many civilians, or your hand's full of spies, you lose. Okay. I'm assuming spies are like taking damage there, in some sense. I suggest you guys go check out, if you have any interest in this, any interest in a solo game. I've been talking more about solo aspects on the channel, but I would highly suggest you check out the rulebook here to see if it appeals to you, because again, I trust SpaceBiff. He has a very good reputation for a reason. So if he says it's a solid game, you should check it out too if you have any interest in that. And if you wanted just a quick summary here, I glanced at the rulebook. It's only 16 pages, and these 16 pages are laid out very, very well. This looks more like a complete game rulebook rather than like a prototype. Planning. You're playing any number of cards from your hand and taking whatever actions that you have that it allows you to do, the plan actions as we saw on the bottom of those cards. Then you're choosing one of the missions that you're going to be attacking, and there may be enemies left based on that mission there. Attacking said card. Any defend effects on the mission and its enemies trigger. So again, there's going to be some back and forth. You can play anything else executing the attack actions if appropriate and needed. You must play all the cards from your hand, including any additional ones. Then they all have mission effects and abilities that are going to trigger. Defeating the targets is going to get you those victory points. And then you're looking and calculating the end of phase, essentially scoring conditions, civilian losses, whether or not you won the mission, and you have to decide on keep playing or end the resistance. So, which is ending the game. So relatively very, very straightforward. How many points you get, how well you did from a solo game aspect. There you go. Check it out. Last up, just one little side note here at the very end. This was brought up over on, I know I have a small Discord that I've never really published. I think one of the Patreon folks sent me a message about this one. The Tale of the Brave Knight. It's basically a kid's version explanation of the effects of war on the families, but also the people who fight in the war, especially dealing with the post-traumatic just everything that goes along with it. And it's already a made book, published, I think twice internationally, they said. And so I just thought I'd mention it here because, I mean, right? Crowdfunding, good things. Check it out if you're interested. I'll throw in the link below along with all the other links. So there you go. So super short, sweet this week. Not a whole lot launching. Definitely check out tomorrow's video though, because the 24th, holy short fork balls, Batman. There's a lot of games, big money, big price point, big IP, big no factor in terms of you know them that are going to be launching in the next week, but also a week after. So tomorrow's video is going to be jam-packed with everything that you need to know about what we know already of these games coming out next week. And if you're anything like me, it could be a very spicy meatball, but it may also be a big pass because there's going to be definitely ones that are going to divide people as well too. And it's definitely not going to be a mass appeal. I think people are going to be picking and choosing very carefully. And that's even before we start factoring in the things like the increased shipping costs. So it's going to be very interesting and very telling to see where these games end up towards the end of all their campaigns. That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great day. Subscribe if you like. Smash the like button. Tell me something interesting. I got nothing here at the end, Ramble. So I got nothing. I'm all rambled out. It was a week of rambling. So we're going to end it on a low note. Have a great day. $9 for Akandia. And those are the ones that have the most that I usually have ever.